Welcome to Pains Don't Hide the Scars podcast. I'm Jason LaChance, and here with the founder of Pain, Mr. Flindt Andersen.
Hello, Jason. How are you?
I'm well, good sir. It is back to school season, and as you and I say, that once a year talk with that kid of yours, the loved one, it's a grandchild, niece, nephew, is not enough around substances, substance abuse, addiction. You need to have it constantly, especially in this day and age. So today, what you need to know when that kid returns to school, we're going to dig into it because it's been interesting. There's been a lot of silence in that area around the educating the youth on what is going on with substance abuse, what's out there on the street, those pitfalls that they could fall into, just out of what we've definitely dubbed and recognized. There used to almost be a rite of passage, so to speak, when you and I were younger, where, I didn't experiment in high school, but I did in my early 20s, alcohol and smoking a few goofy cigarettes there, so to speak. And that's about as far as it went for me. But there was almost a rite of passage. It didn't hold the same consequences that it does now. I mean, on that note, we have heard and spoken to folks on this podcast that their son was a pot smoker or whatever, got that lace joint where the paper had the fentanyl on it, and they're gone. So
Yeah.
it's important to really point this out, that experimentation consequence has changed vastly.
Yeah, it has changed and I'll tell you what, mainly over the last 3 to 4 years has it really changed. I'm actually more interested in what these kids did during the summer,
Mm.
than and now that they're going into the fall semester, especially those juniors and seniors in high school, where they were this summer and what they were doing. Because like you said, there are plenty of situations that we know of that the educational piece of this is not getting taught. It's not getting said. On one hand, you have people going, don't do fentanyl. Fentanyl is going to kill you. Well, yeah, of course, everybody in the world knows that. Okay. But how do you not do it? What do you really have to be aware of here? You just can't talk to the kids because the kids, it goes over their head in 2 weeks. Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure. There are some kids that listen, but the majority of them, that's gone. Okay, after you're done with your speech and you walk out and these kids are like, okay, that's cool. 2 weeks, by the end of 10 days to 2 weeks, it's history. So it goes back to the parents again and why we are not educating the parents and why these parents, in my opinion, are not talking to their kids. We still have the same addiction problem. Mm-hmm. Okay, we still have the same addiction problem. It's sad in a way that this isn't being done. It's just like this piece with President Trump that blew up the boat. Okay, did you see that article where there was a speedboat coming across, and I don't know, it had just a boatload of precursor and I believe fentanyl with it, and he just blew them to hell. Okay, and they all died. 11 people died in this thing, and that's fantastic. But again, what do you? Okay, we did that. I'm for it. Mm-hmm. But what are we doing besides that? What are we doing besides trying to stop the drugs from coming over the border? So again, my point here is, what are we doing with that? What are we doing with these kids? What are we doing with these parents? Now, I understand you have to get the parents to want to go to some of these things, okay, in order to listen, because you can't force them. Mm-hmm. But I'm really wondering why the parents have backed off of this. I'm really wondering why. Because it's not going away.
Yeah, you know what? Here's one of my, and this is speculative questioning on my part, is we have seen, and more studies and reports come out that there is a decline in drinking in youth in recent years, just, from consumption rates, binge drinking, all that there is a decline around that. I wonder if there is still and I mean this by definition, not insult, ignorance around the fact that there's a perception among parents that that is all that is accessible to teenagers, along with the ignorance, because it took me a while to change my ignorance around my perception of marijuana, especially as dispensaries became legal. And through that, we have seen that uptick in the potency of THC products that are available. So it went from the Cheech and Chong joint, that was
Yep.
a pencil, thinner than a pencil, and you just wanted to have a little Captain Crunch or something like that. Now people are having psychotic breaks. So I'm wondering if there is, again, by definition, not out of insult, an ignorance around what supply is really available. As much as we've hammered home, they're getting the counterfeit Xanax, the press pills, I mean, you name it, ecstasy, all of it through like Snapchat, other apps. Some cases dark web, but I don't think as many teenagers are surfing the dark web. But just that accessibility to all these other substances that are out there. Just curious about your thought around that, that there is just that perception of, and I've heard it and you've heard it, oh, it's just weed, or oh, they're just having a few beers here and there. When data continues to show no, there's a decline around young adults between 14 and 27 around alcohol consumption in general, let alone the American population is moving away from it. But hey, you go to that dispensary, that THC content has climbed.
What do you really think that these statistical places are going to say?
Sure.
They're always going to say something's on the decline. Okay. By the way, has Xanax just disappeared? No. The answer is no.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to say nothing I've seen nothing stating to the contrary. Matter of fact,
Right.
I think it's increased.
Well, nobody's talking about it anymore.
Well, and what's your opinion about this? It, in essence, is actually an easier thing to hide. You go to school stoned or drunk, it's obvious. You pop a Xanax, maybe not as much.
Yeah. Absolutely, it's easier to hide. But again, it goes back to it hasn't gone away. It's still here.
Yeah.
Okay, it's still here. That's why statistics always drive me up the wall. Because look, there's always two sides to statistics.
Mm.
Okay, it's like, okay, well, who did you interview during this? Okay, what kid did you interview during this? Did you interview the kid that took it twice? Okay, and now isn't doing it anymore? What about the kids that have overdosed and lived through all of this mess, whether it's Xanax or whether it's fentanyl or whether it's a regular opiate? I don't know. All I know is this: us in the treatment industry, we're not seeing a slowdown. So that's got to tell you something. If we're not seeing a slowdown anywhere, okay, then it's not slowing down.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it here, right? You
Well,
got to, but here's the other thing. How do you get a viable statistic out of a minor?
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised top quality care with programs for detox and patient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living support groups, and more. New Perceptions North provides adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect in a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction. Call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna, off of what you're saying, then bring up that I was processing as well is, where are you getting this data from? What are the geographical, the
Because
psychographical,
they're all different.
the income regions, things like that. Plus, are you able to have anonymity in this surveying? Because I'm going to tell you, if a 15-year-old, 16-year-old is, a drinker, smoking pot, using something else, and they have to put their name on it because their parents have the right to access it, they're not going to be honest.
Of course, they're not going to be honest.
We can't even get the adults to be honest. How do you think we're going to get the teenagers to be honest?
Teenager to be honest. I mean, come on, everybody. I mean, we are a drug-induced society to begin with. It's proven over and over and over again. Okay, it's just what it is. But again, I think that there's so much of this that is acceptable to parents today. That, and again, their obvious thought is it's never going to happen to my child. And I'm so tired of using that term. Okay, going somewhere and talking about, yeah, these parents think that it's never going to happen to my child. Well, God damn it, it is. Okay, and by the way, it has, and we have the stats to prove that. Even when a minor passes away, you're not going to get the real autopsy report. Okay, from that. It's a minor. You can't, again, I'm hoping I'm right on this. I know in the past we couldn't get the autopsy reports from minors. So, and there are parents out there that are not going to have an autopsy done. You see, the only way you get a statistic is if somebody passes away and the autopsy is done. If the autopsy is not done, you're not getting a viable, you may have people know that this person died of an overdose, but that's it. You're not going to get a viable number here.
Yeah.
So it's again, I know we started out talking about kids and going back to school, but the reality is that if these parents, I really hope that they do. I don't think so. I just don't see any change in this. I just don't see it. Okay, it has always frightened me. Always. We've seen it over and over and over again. And when I mean we've seen it, we've seen it. Okay, this isn't reading some book. This is what we've seen with our own two eyes. This is what we deal with every day.
Yeah. And
again, the problem is, I'm going to bring it up. Okay, it's just like the Prop 36 thing.
Okay.
I love Prop 36 as far as the tougher sentences.
Let's expand on and give a overview of exactly what Prop 36 is, so people.
Yeah,
understand.
Proposition allows felony charges and increases sentences for certain drug and theft crimes. It was initiated California ballot proposition and legislative statute that was passed in 2024. That's Proposition 36. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with that, though, comes the financial aid to all of this, right? And what they are talking about here, now we've got district attorneys that are talking and trying to get this $100 million in the state of California shuffled off to these treatment facilities. Again, I'm for it, but the majority of these treatment centers use the outpatient services as a big part of their treatment policies. Okay. And so with that, there's new technology out there, which is going to help us do all of this stuff. Okay. But I think what's happening here is that you're just not seeing people in that are making it in recovery because of that. Okay, they're just not making it, and so, by the way, to put a minor, there's only a few places in the state of California that allow minors.
Yeah,
95% of treatment facilities don't allow minors.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you've got this minor. If the parent's not talking to the kid, if the parent isn't taking charge, if they're not ruling the roost over their kid, that kid's going to do what they want to do during their high school years. The minute they turn, now they've done whatever they wanted to do over those years, and now as they turn 18, now nobody's got any control over them, so to speak. Okay, they're already let's just take it minimally. They're already 3 years into their using. And it's just going to get worse from there. I hope that makes sense to some people. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, it does to me, but again, I'm in this
It makes sense to
this
those of us
field.
that are in it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For others, not. You would think that it sounds like, oh, okay, well, great. So they're not gonna put as many people into the prison pipeline. That's been a hot button. Which, hey, I understand that. Yeah, I don't think all situations and scenarios are prison
Right.
necessary if we can get someone in an
Sure.
actual rehabilitation. But the problem is, and to help dissect what you're sharing is they don't go into a place like, okay, let's say someone commits theft due to substance, be it either they're dependent or addicted into full blown addiction. They commit a theft. The theft is, I forget what the amount is. I think they moved it down to like, what is it now, $750 before it
Yeah.
used to be over 1,000 or something like that. So now, instead of the felony charge necessarily landing on the individual, there is these options to go and get services around that substance that they are addicted to. But they're not a New Perceptions North where they're coming in. They have that option of staying a good 30 days minimum, hopefully to go through a proper detox and then start to do the work to start to build new neural pathways to reframe the way in which they are approaching life and seeing themselves and all the other stuff that lies underneath why we turn to a substance in the first place.
Right.
They're going to where it's just an outpatient program. Come here,
Right.
leave, and maybe you're going to get some of the tools, maybe a little face to face time.
Right.
What's usually, correct me if I'm wrong, usually the good course of action when we have that kind of outpatient IOP and intensive outpatient program is you've done your treatment stay. You've been somewhere that 30 days, and then this is the transitional part of it so that you do start getting back into society, being a productive citizen, building your life. We're just trying to expect you to go from, hey, I understand you were snorting fentanyl all day, but now let's just get you back out to that part of life when you haven't yet fully done anything to, let alone detox from this chemical, which is dangerous to do without the proper
Right.
supervision.
Right.
Yeah, there is a multitude of possibilities, including death,
Yep.
uh, and we expect you to just jump right back into being a productive citizen.
Right. Right. I mean, that's you just hit the nail on the head with that. And that's what it is. And again, you talk about that rate of relapse and everything else. Okay, well, of course our relapse rates are going to be through the roof,
Yeah.
But then there's people out there saying that our relapse that our recovery rates are 60%. And I'm going, that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Because I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Um,
Well,
but I'm sorry. Go
let
ahead.
me talk on that. That's the frustrating thing about even making a claim around recovery rates in general is that's a sliding scale
Yeah.
because guess what? You might have 90%, but when is that? Is that in the first 30 days? Is that in the first 6 months?
Right.
Is that 2 years from now? I mean,
Right.
we've seen it, and I'm not, outing anyone, but we had spoken on this years ago where Dax Shepard during the lockdown had a slip up.
Yeah.
Okay, now all of a sudden does he move where if it was 100 people, now it's down to 59% because he's that 1% 15 years later? It's
Right.
like just one of the most uh, horrible marketing tools that I've seen for treatment facilities. Our rates are compared to everybody else. How do you know? Are you
Right.
tracking everybody that's ever come through your facility forever?
Right.
You're better
You
off saying we have an amazing reputation of never becoming disconnected from the client that walks through our door. Give me that
most
rate.
most treatment centers, you lose contact with that person within. I mean, this is after they do detox, residential, and outpatient. From that last day, probably within 6 months,
Hmm.
if not sooner. Do
Hmm.
you lose contact with that person? So you really don't know.
Yeah.
That's that. Look, it's not like this is a curable anything. This is not a curable disease. So if it was curable, then you're obviously going to know who's cured and who isn't.
Yeah.
This you're never going to know.
Yeah.
You're just never going to know. I can't. Again, I could go on for hours. Okay, about people that have relapsed and used and came back and used and relapsed and stopped and blah 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 and on and on and on. And it's just that cycle of hell. That they deal with, and so again, it's that's why that's why the times we're living in right now, we've got, and again, I'm going to use this as treatment centers. We know what to do. We know what to do. We just don't have enough time to do it properly.
Clarify that. What do you mean?
Because the insurance companies, two reasons. Because one, the insurance companies do not give us the proper time. They want that person out of there as quickly as possible, and they're protecting their money in this, and they want to save money. And the other issue is the family and the client themselves. I've got this. They feel better after 2 weeks. I feel better. I don't need any more. Mom and dad are saying the same thing. He looks fantastic. He or she's put on some weight. They look good. They're not angry. They're blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's because we've done our job extremely well for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but now they want to leave. And we can't chain them to the bed.
And that's an important thing to understand for those that want to understand it better. It's called fading effect bias. And what it means is not only for the addict themselves, they get those 2 weeks, some of those natural chemicals, the big four, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, we'll call it the dose, might start to come back in some way, shape, or form. So you get that pink cloud over your head and you quickly forget the consequences that follow when you are using that drug of choice, as if we really had the choice. And because the family is getting that break from it as well, they start to just miss that individual and forget all of that too. And it's important to remember that fading effect bias, very incredibly real, because it doesn't just happen that loved one comes out of that treatment facility and all of a sudden everything is sunshine and rainbows. No, there's still so much work to do.
So much work to do, and it's like they're afraid to do it. They're afraid to do it. And again, especially with mom and dad going, God, they look wonderful. We don't need this. Well, how many times over the years have we had people come back? Yeah. Again, glad they do. But that's this disease. This is an ugly disease, man. You talk about one that keeps coming back. This is the one that keeps coming back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it does, because you have to be in a place of logic and not emotion around this. Because what happens, we see, again, the addict, the skin's coming back to their skin, and, they're smiling, maybe getting natural joy and laughter. And then the family seeing that too. And they're like, great, we've got, sorry if there's a Tommy listening that's offended by it, but I'm going to use the name Tommy, and Tommy's looking good. And it's like, great, we get a return back to when Tommy was 15. No, you don't. This is a new junction point in your timeline in which this is going to have to be different.
Yeah.
This is something you have to be cognitive of across the board. If you're not being in a place of good consciousness around this and understanding, just like addiction is progressive, so is this recovery process, and it's going to take so much more. And I think it. What does our reward system do? It wants to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And when you get that pleasurable experience, well, then you get this nice story again, the nostalgia around it. Tommy's going to be great, and Christmas is going to be awesome this year, and blah 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 blah. No, bull.
And how many times have we seen an overdose right at that moment?
Yeah, highly. Yeah. Okay. Or, the one that comes back out, and then what do they do at Christmas? Uncle Billy is having some beer. He sneaks a couple drinks of beer, and then all of a sudden he's back up to a 30-pack a day, just like that.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to go all the way back. We've seen it. We're just not whistling Dixie here. We have seen what this disease does, how it affects the individual, how it affects the family. And then of course, because the family doesn't understand, then again, maybe the second or third time they've relapsed, then the parents going, well, I've had enough of these people. I've had enough of them and him and her. And, I don't want them around anymore. Well, Jesus, you're the one that caused half of this stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. Your son or daughter is the other one that caused it. Okay. Because mm-hmm. they did. I don't care what the reasons are. Right. It was also, again, pretty much their choice. Okay. Instead of getting that help that is there, and it's a good help. But now they're in a boat, which I just want to say, I told you 3 times ago. Okay, mm-hmm. that this is going to happen. How many times? I mean, you've been around me for a long time. How many times have I said that to folks? Okay, if you don't do it this time, you're going to be back. Maybe not to me, but to somebody. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be back, and sure as shit, okay, they're back. Mm-hmm. Very few of us. I didn't do it the first time.
Yeah,
it took 4 attempts. Everybody, it takes everybody. Sometimes some people do it the first go around. Okay, yeah. And my hat's off to them, but the majority of us, no.
Yeah, they're like you and I. And again, we're not saying this out of a place of judgment. We're saying it out of a place of experience, because that was us.
Right. Right. Well, we're not. Well, and some people go, well, we're not you. And I'll go, let's compare us. Let's compare us. And I'll go, okay, well, where do you live? I live in this neighborhood. Well, I live in a neighborhood exactly like yours. Well, I had parents my whole life. My whole life. Well, my parents didn't beat the shit out of me, but my parents didn't either. Well, we're educated. I'm educated.
I'm very active in sports and music and everything else. Hey,
all of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So there again, buddy, there's no difference here.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in. Okay. So you better wake up now. Has nothing to do with where you live. It has everything to do with how you parent. Sorry.
Yeah.
Now I'm fired up and pissed. Okay?
Well, and
everything to do with how you parent.
Just on that level of that saying I am different is like, okay, that's true, but you also have this beautiful human mechanism that your reward system is designed the same way mine is. Your nervous system is designed the same way mine is. And at some point, something triggered it all, and then you decided that this substance, insert here, whatever it is that nice warm blanket for you. Guess what? I did the same thing. So we got a whole hell of a lot in common.
Whole hell of a lot in common. I just love that when somebody says, well, I didn't grow up. Well, neither did I. Neither. In fact, I had probably one of the best childhoods of all time.
Yeah.
Okay. Right? I mean, come on. It was Leave It to, for those that remember Leave It to Beaver, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, and I've shared it here. I grew up in a home of substance abuse. My father greatly struggled, but at the same time, it was like I was a kid that went to Disneyland hundreds of times.
Yeah.
I mean, Disney World. My mom was very active to, supporting me in sports and acting and my other things that I was curious about. So it's like, the opportunities were there, but guess what? In the genes of both sides of my family. Okay. So physiological there, so the biological piece is there. The psychological aspect as well, either, by proxy or seeing it, which I didn't really see it, but by proxy saw that this was the way of coping, as far as it came to, substances other than alcohol. But I certainly saw family members and friends, parents, that alcohol was the coping thing. So it was a learned response,
Sure.
And I was a pretty good teenager. It's like, I'm not going to do that. It's illegal. But come 21, and when all the people overuse trauma, but trauma that happened started to mature in this here brain. Well, it kind of had a different idea for me. Than I'm going to be a responsible drinker.
Sure.
So,
I love that line with Ozzy Osbourne when he's doing an interview. And I went to Betty Ford, but he walks into Betty Ford and he goes, "Where's the bar?" Okay. And they go, "Well, what do you mean, where's the bar?" He goes, "Well, I thought I was here because they were going to teach me how to drink like a gentleman."
uh, no such thing. No
No
such
such
thing.
thing. No such thing. Oh shit. It's funny.
Well, you had brought up a while ago about most treatment facilities tend to lose that contact with someone that's come through as a patient in about 6 months. But you've been doing some exciting work to keep that contact, not only keep that contact, but have that monitoring going on of different vital aspects, things that can show that anxiety has been spiking, moments of depression, maybe that of being overstressed. What is happening with OpiAID?
Yeah, it's truly an amazing item to be. You know this, I know this. It's uh, look. There's a lot we can't say at this particular moment, but what we can say is that this is going to change the treatment industry. It's like this is something that I have been waiting for all these years, and it's literally going to change how we do treatment. It's also going to change the client, because now the client knows that they can't BS us anymore. Again, not because they're intentionally trying to. A lot of BS comes with the fact that we're just addicts and alcoholics.
Sure.
But when you have this item that gives your biometrics to the staff and to the physician every 5 minutes in real time, on a dashboard, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
It's like I think I've told you, it's like the sleep thing, where I would be in treatment and they would go, "Well, how did you sleep the last couple nights?" And I said, "Well, I slept fine." Okay, knowing that I tossed and turned and blah, blah, blah. I didn't have any other answer to give them. Well, now we can go back and go, "Well, no, you didn't sleep fine because, this apparatus is telling us that you slept 4.2 hours in the last 2 nights." All right.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do so. And now I don't want to say fix it, but we can fix that issue by changing medications in minutes and hours instead of days and weeks. We can change the medication for anxiety levels and depression levels, because those are definable. By the way, they differentiate between the two, and that's what our apparatus shows is the difference between the two. It also gives, again, all your biometrics to that medical team every 5 minutes. So now we know, and the client knows, hey, I've got a chance at this now.
Yeah.
I've got a chance at this. But I have to explain it like this. This apparatus is so great, okay, that like I said, it's already starting to change things. We all know that this is where our society is going in the next 4 to 5 years, especially with medicine, that everybody's going to have this.
Yeah, you're talking about the wearable devices and the
Correct.
AI component to them.
Correct. But it's interesting. It's like Steve Jobs when he came up with the iPhone, right? He developed the iPhone 1. He didn't sit there and say, "I'm going to wait till I get to the 16 before I send it out."
Mm-hmm.
Technology is always improving. It's always changing. It's always increasing. It's always getting better. It's always doing something. So now with this, like I said, I know I haven't given a great explanation, but I am just thrilled at this thing. And we've got treatment centers all over the country now that are going, "Gosh, we want to see this." We not only are we interested, we want to do it, but we want to see it, and so we're giving those demonstrations and we're doing it, and it's going to change treatment for sure.
Oh, I wholeheartedly believe, a prime example for me, if it was something that was offered when I had quit drinking and I go to the doctor and I finally decide I'd be honest with my doctor, and saying, I'm feeling all this and that. And I was 40. And he
Yeah.
goes, well, Jason, it sounds like you have an anxiety disorder. What? Like, yeah, how long has this been going? I go, well, I mean, all these symptoms, I can remember back from being like 7 years old. Like, okay,
Yeah.
but if there was something again where you're talking about the client unintentionally BSing, that's what you mean is like this thing can measure because again, by definition, maybe you're just ignorant to what that is and what that
Yeah,
looks like for you.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it was for me. It was like, okay, well,
Right.
here's some things that you can do, and there is medication options, which I elected not to at that time. And boy, just by making some changes, it helped. But I needed someone to point that out and educate me on what that looks like for me. So, if say treatment facility, someone's listening wants to find out more about OpiAID, what's like the best way?
Oh, they can reach me obviously at 559-978-9239. They can also contact Dino Miliotis at 910-777-4915.
All right. Yeah, it is just fascinating technology, and it's interesting to see how we continue to find a very useful way to bring these tools into so many different areas. And it really is very fascinating if you think about it, where taking these vitals every 5 minutes, and then it creates a more, a authentically accurate chart that isn't based upon looking at a picture and the tell me how you feel. It's like, it's that real data that is coming straight from your body, the best source of how these things show up. So,
Yeah, I mean, come on. The dumbest thing in the world is to sit there in front of that doctor, like I love it how Dino says it, like that smiley face, those 10 different smiley faces. Tell me how you feel. Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to BS you. Okay, or I'm going to go so far to the side that I feel so bad. Okay, because I need the drugs right now in order for me to function. But now you've got a piece of you've got the apparatus here that is going to go. Here's the truth.
yeah, yeah,
Here's what's really going on with you.
yeah.
I mean, my gosh, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah,
It
because that psychological aspect's so important when it comes to it. Because either the addict can and will lie, or they just don't know and don't understand. Or what if you're one of those people that you hate to make others worry, so you minimize what is going on. So
of course.
it's like, here's the data, here's what we're gonna do, and here is why.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
so there it is. I'd love to get this in front of President Trump's face.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Or Kennedy, for that matter, too. Huh?
Yeah, we're close with Senator Kennedy, so yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up this edition of the Don't Hide the Scars?
Yeah, again, the summer was pretty good, and you know what? We've got school season upon us, so I just hope everybody stays safe. I hope parents talk to their kids. There's lots of activity happening this fall.
Yes,
And,
sir.
and I'll tell you what, during these school years, this is when we see the majority of overdose deaths. So, it's time to take heed.
Yes, sir. And please, if you or a loved one is in need, don't hesitate to reach out to us, painnonprofit.org. You can get all of our information there to contact us, email, phone number, and so on. And thank you for listening to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast. Hit that follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Please share it there with other people that will get value out of it. Or visit our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@painnonprofit.